So, hey, man, welcome.
Man.
My man, it's so good to see you.
Likewise.
I reached out to you maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago on LinkedIn or Skype or one of these things and said, hey, would you be willing for me to come to Florida and do an interview? And it's like, bing, instant, which is a monster change from the way business was done years ago. There are open doors. What I call this entire planet's being disrupted right now. And it seems like everyone, the smart people, not the old legacy companies, but the smart entrepreneurs, in particular in a number of industries, they all have this open door policy of please come see me, let me come see you, and let's collaborate. I've watched a lot of material on you. I'm just really impressed with where you came from, your life. I don't think people really appreciate how much pain and suffering and alone time that takes. Like, it takes guts, and you're probably going to go, well, I really didn't have any other options, which is my response to it. It's not like we have a choice sometimes. How would you, Patrick, identify yourself? Who are you?
Well, on the personal level, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I got 4 kids, so that's that part. But I would consider myself a creative, a person that's playing a game. Like, literally, to me, when I was a kid, I loved playing Fester's Quest or Final Fantasy or any of these games that were RPG games that was a little bit complicated. You had to solve this big problem. I was a kid that when I went to the Army, my favorite subject in high school was math analysis. So I would buy a math analysis book and do a bunch of trigonometry formulas because I love math. I love formulas. I love anything to do with that. In college, I was the curve of my calculus class. I'm a numbers guy. I don't like anything else except for numbers. That was me. So everything I see lens, I'm calculating the mirrors here. I'm calculating all the stuff that's going on. I love numbers. So creative is where I would put it. And a guy that's playing a game. Literally, every day I feel like I'm playing a game. The game of business for me, once you learn, like my son, every sport he ever played, he hated it. And my wife would call me, babe, if he doesn't want to play baseball, leave him alone. If he doesn't want to play football, I said, babe, here's his profile. He's like his daddy. He doesn't like it because he sucks. And we don't like playing any game when we suck at it. I said, just trust me. I know this kid, Dylan. The moment he gets good at it, he's going to fall in love with it. So, and all of a sudden you would see him play soccer. He gets good. All he wants to do is play soccer. Then he would play baseball and he becomes formidable. Then he wants to play baseball. So business is the same one. When you're not good at it, you can't stand the game. But then all of a sudden when you realize, I kind of feel like I'm figuring this thing out a little bit, it becomes obviously more and more fun, especially if you like playing games.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting, when I asked, wrote down this question, I called you a leader, entrepreneur, shaper, right? In that order. Shaper, transforming, pushing, maybe reorganizing the way a business or industry looks. That's how I see you. So very creative. Like, I think the creative piece is often missed in most serial entrepreneur, not one-time hitter, but like people that do this over and over seem to be extremely artistic to me. And they're not ever given the credit, because if you can create something from a blank sheet of paper and then employ 600, 6,000 people and monetize it, that's a piece of art, right? It's actually a monetary generator art. It's not just sitting on a wall. So and it's not just a trophy. Because like the trophy was given to you as a little plastic thing. This is something you created that no one else will ever create. Like, to be able to do that, it's like creating a baby, but there's a whole family, an army of people that are hopefully doing good. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I do. I think, for me, when you go to a funeral and you see somebody who lost somebody and you watch the people who are the closest to that person and you see them going, they're mourning, the pain they have. I think for me, of course, when it's personal, I experience that. But to a level when I see a company like Kmart go out of business, I think about, what are the founders thinking about right now? Or when I see a company that's going in a complete different direction and they go bankrupt, and the original guys that took the company to the next level, what are they thinking about? It is heartbreaking for me when companies fail that have been around for many years, because it is a form of a funeral. because this is art, this is hard, this requires a lot of energy, a lot of creativity, a lot of working together, a lot of late nights, a lot of fears, a lot of anxiety, a lot of insecurities, a lot of uncertainties. It's not most people can stay in that kind of a state maybe for a month, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months, but staying in that level of uncertainty and expectation and anxiety for 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and this is, it shows the pressure of why we respect certain people as much as we do. I just finished Elon Musk's new book that came out with Walter Isaacson. If you haven't read it, I think you would love it. 100%, I think you and your brother would love the book because it goes back and it talks about the story of what happened to them as kids. But then later on in life, what codes he followed when he built the company. A couple codes that are unorthodox that most people don't talk about. And he talks about it. He says too much camaraderie in a company isn't a good thing. Why not? Because when there's too much camaraderie, people don't feel comfortable calling each other out. There can never be to a point where you're like, well, that's my boy.
It's like saying there's a lot of camaraderie on a Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
There is a lot of camaraderie, but they don't necessarily like each other and hanging out with each other.
Yeah,
right?
The problem becomes, dude, you guys want to hang out on the weekend and go party and do whatever you want to do, go for it. But if you miss the block, dude, what are you doing? Like, get the damn block. We're trying to win the Super Bowl here. He says you can't allow the camaraderie to come in the way of the vision of the company, what we want to do. But some of the things that it talked about in the company with him and his brother Kimball, it talks about how Kimball breaks down Elon and says Elon can never stop. Every time life is peaceful and he's achieved a milestone that seemed impossible, he needs a new level of chaos. He's not necessarily good in a peaceful environment. He needs chaos in his life because he grew up in a chaotic environment as a kid. So for me, I can't see myself, certain people like you and I both know, we're talking about a couple people where it's like, hey, these guys make the money and they go away for 5-7 years. I can't do that. That would drive me insane if I did that. If I go on vacations and I'm there for more than 5-7 days, I'm kind of like, look, I got to build something. We got to do something. We got to get something to be going. I'm good for 3 to 5 days. After about 5 or 7 days, I want to go to, let's build something here. And I think that's the DNA of somebody that's creative, that's an entrepreneur, that's a leader, that feels like something can be done better, that's got a certain level of urgency. When we sold the company, I'll never forget.
When did you sell? When did you
June
exit?
30th of last year, okay?
First big exit?
First big exit, yeah.
Well done, dude.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Is that public? What you exited for? There's numbers all over the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it's shy of a $300 million. It's a nice exit that we took place.
Very well done.
When this exit happened,
were you the owner?
83%.
83.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When the exit took place, and it's a 75% cash deal, and going up to it, we're like, well, let me tell you, when we do, we're going to take 3 months off, and we're going to get a yacht in France and go to Monaco and da-da-da-da-da. First of all, we closed the deal in Monaco, okay? We're in Monaco. We're staying at the Fairmont. We're having dinner at Le Louis, and a 3-hour dinner turns into a 5-hour dinner because I'm stepping away and I'm having a call with all the attorneys. They're fighting and screaming, a last-minute negotiation. And what about this one? We found out this, all this stuff that lawyers want to do last minute.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of save, money here and there. I'm like, guys, I'm not doing it if we don't do it this way. And eventually we close the deal, right? We're sitting at a place, at a breakfast spot, and my wife and I were having breakfast. It's like, all right,
now
it's officially real, okay? So you get $1 million in the bank, feels great. You get 10 million in the bank, feels great. You get 50 million in the bank, feels great. But now you're like, this is now, we can, if we wanted to, we're good. If we chose to live a different life, we're good. Came back the next day, I'm at the office working, growing, tackling the next thing because I sincerely love this game, okay? I sincerely love this game. Now, are some aspect of it change to do new traditions with the family, with the kids where you get to celebrate? Yes, you got to celebrate victories. But did I have any desire, Gary, to go for 3 months? I had no desire to go and live on a yacht for 3 months. I would have gone crazy.
Me either.
Yeah, I would have gone crazy.
Do you have any hobbies?
I like baseball cards. I'm a big baseball card collector. When I hold my baseball card, I was doing it this Sunday. I'm 14 years old.
You feel good?
I'm a kid. I'm a kid when I have my baseball cards. If I have my baseball cards, I'm not a 44-year-old, man. I'm a 14-year-old kid going back to my son for his birthday. He got a nice King Griffey 89 Upper Deck rookie card. PSA 10. So he's like, oh my God, Daddy, what is a sport? So he's looking at the prices. And I'm, okay, this is special because you just turned 10 years old. You've been doing great with your grades, jiu-jitsu, baseball, all this stuff. He says, what was your first big card? I said, you want to know my first big card? He says, yes. I said, listen, one day we are walking to the #1 card shop in Glendale. And on the way there, a bird poops on me. He says, a bird
good
poops
luck,
on
isn't
me?
it?
It is.
Isn't that good luck?
It is.
Yeah.
So I tell him this. I said,
that's what traveling
I said,
is.
so I call my mom. My mom says, this is good luck in Armenia
Buy
if
the
a bird
market.
poops. Yeah. So I'm like, this is great. So I'm going to go buy a pack. So I take all my money, $5, and I buy this pack that to me, it's just so much money. Boom. I land Shaq's rookie card, $50. I said, let me tell you, it was as if it was the greatest day of my life that day. I bragged about the Shaq card, Stadium Club. He's getting a rebound. And I was so stoked, so excited. Everyone's like, I can't believe Pat pulled the Shaq. But, you know, it's the innocence. It's stuff that gets you to think about the innocence of who you and I were when we were 12, 13, 14 years old. I love tapping into that guy. I love going and meeting that guy and reminding myself of that guy because the level of innocence and naiveness, you know, it's attractive. You know, it's exciting for you to realize how far you've come along. And so, yeah, one of the hobbies I would say is that.
That's not a normal hobby.
Right? It's not.
Any other hobbies? Because I think you actually, if you're like me, you actually, like, hey, did they just ask me the hobby question? Is that true for you? Like, I have no hobbies.
If you want to talk about golfing.
I'll play heads-up poker with you.
I'll do
I
that.
love that
Yeah.
as a hobby, but I got to find the right guys to play with.
I'll do that. I will do that. I like dominoes. If you're thinking like my games, I love backgammon.
There you go. So
I
you're a
can
game
play
player. See,
hours and hours. Are you good at backgammon?
I don't think that I'm good at backgammon just because I haven't spent much time with the game. But what I'm trying to get to here is that here's another guy like me. I have zero hobbies. I own 600 weapons. I could go shooting all the way. I find it boring, man. I just want to plug myself into another game where I'm intellectually stimulated. But I think it's the 14-year-old. Like, I love this interview, dude. Like, I've never heard an entrepreneur other than me talk about, hey, the real genius is in the 14-year-old. He sees the world through a different lens. I'll bet you're thinking right now, when your greatest creative thoughts about your next deals, you're probably going to do a number of different deals because you have the energy, quite frankly, and the intellect and the money now, because you've been through the game. I mean, you learn a lot through this game, right? And I want to get to the mistakes made, but I find the creation in the 14-year-old, not in the analytical Gary, hey, I've been doing this my life. I know how to do numbers. It's like, ooh, I got this feeling again. You get that?
Yeah, of course.
You do, huh? Where does it fit in your body? Like your eyes just lit up when I said, ooh, I got the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that feeling is the feeling you go on the first date with, the girl where you're like, I'm kind of feeling it. This is the girl you want to be like. The first day, my wife and I, when we went to P.F. Chang's on December 29th of 2007, we always talk about the twinkle in our eyes and the smile. And we wish somebody would have recorded it because each person saw it on the other person. And then we stayed there till midnight. P.F. Chang's closes, and the waiter comes. It's 12:15 midnight. And I said, look, Johnny, I really need your help. And she says, what's that? I said, my wife and I have been married for 10 years. She's not my wife. I just went on a first date with her. I said, and my wife.
You're doing this in front of your wife?
Yeah, in front of her. I said, my wife.
That's it.
We're having a problem because her parents are asking her for us to get separated because I'm Muslim and she's a Catholic. And she's not a Catholic. I'm not a Muslim. I'm just making up the story. And I said, and it's breaking my heart. What counsel could you give my wife? This guy sits down.
Solid.
He sits down for 15, 20 minutes, pleading with my wife, saying, do you love him? I do. Why one first? Do you love him? It's like,
you're jamming her, dude.
I do.
You knew, though, huh? You knew?
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. No, I mean, I knew when I first saw her in June of 2002. But, so that part, when you get that twinkle in your eye, the smile, this feeling in your stomach, was like, this could
Is that where it is? You get a feeling in your stomach?
I do.
Interesting.
I do.
Mine's right under right in my ribs. It's the most amazing feeling.
Yeah.
I think everybody has it. Very few people tap into it. You agree with that, or?
Oh, there's no question
people
about
don't?
it. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. I think, did you ever have a glimpse where you felt an untouchable energy of yours where you had nothing, but you're like, I think that something could happen with my life. I can do something. Do you remember where you were at when that happened to you?
Yes.
How old were
It's
you when it
happened so many times now.
But when you first time, before you had money, like way before you got money.
The first time
Yeah.
I was 6 years old,
Okay.
maybe 7,
Okay.
on a baseball field.
Yeah.
Now, I had 4 or 5 surgeries before I was 18.
Really?
So, so I was not athletically, like I don't follow any sports. I follow girls, right? That's what I learned how to do when I was 15. But I remember stepping up to the plate. There's 2 guys on base. I'm the last batter. It is show up or be a punk. And I loved it. I loved walking up to that. I remember going, this is my role in life, dude. I want to be a hero. And I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I actually want to be the guy that saves the day. I like the pressure. I actually consume the pressure. It becomes fuel for me.
Wow.
And every time there was a pressure position, I kept putting myself in there because I'm like, hey, I have a unique skill under pressure. And that is my deal, dude. I love going against the odds. I just think it's a lot of fun. It makes the game really, really, really interesting, especially if you're going against. It's a David and Goliath story for me. Really, it is almost biblical. Let's go beat up the guy that's abusing the consumer. Let's go see if we can take a little bit of bacon off of him. So what about you? When did you know?
Well, for me, I never played organized sports, even though I was 6'3" in high school. Never played organized sports, never. A YMCA was $13.50 a month for membership in Glendale. My mother couldn't afford it. So I worked at Haagen-Dazs. What I did is every day after school, I worked. Since I was 14 years old, I was out of job. And I went after making money. So every day, I'm going to Haagen-Dazs or Bob's Big Boy or Burger King or one of these places to make my money, or I'm selling something. And that was my MO. I'm the guy that's selling something, making money, figuring out a way to go buy my baseball cards because I wanted a Sergei Fedorov rookie card or whatever it was. That was what I was doing. So I go to the Army. And Army, for me, it's kind of like, I'm going to go do this for 20 years and I'm done. This is going to be my route. I'm going to make a good soldier. I'm going to come out. I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to be a UPS, postal worker, firefighter. That's what I'll do. Okay? Great. So I go in. I get a call from a friend of mine a day before I'm about to re-enlist for 6 years. He encourages me to get out. So I get out. Very wild decision.
How old are you?
I make. I'm 20 at this time. This is, the decisions being made, March, April of 1999. And then I eventually get out June 99. June 20th, I become a U.S. citizen when I go with 6,000 other people in L.A. and I become a U.S. citizen. And then I go work at Bally's because I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I was going to be the next Mr. Olympia. That's what I was going to do. I'm like, you're way too tall to be Mr. Olympia, especially in today's times because I'm going to be 400 pounds off season. My dad had 13 heart attacks. I'm like, I'm not going to put that stuff on my body. I'll die way too early. So I didn't do bodybuilding. And I go to SMC, Santa Monica Community College, because that's where Arnold went. And I said, I'm going to be a governor. I'm going to go be a movie star, and I'm going to marry Kennedy. Literally, that was my plan. So, but at 22 years old, I get invited to this meeting in Sherman Oaks. And at this point, I now have a reputation of a good salesperson. At the gyms, everybody knows me. You know me at the clubs. If you're going to Vegas, you know me. You want to party with me, I'm kind of that guy.
Clubbing hard?
Yeah, I'm clubbing hard. I'm in Vegas 26 times a year. It's 3.5-hour drive. I'm going Friday night, boom, coming back Sunday night. That was a life. And then I go to this place and I see the level of respect I got from everybody at this place. People that are making very good money, successful, but they're giving me that respect. And I said, if this is the kind of respect I'm getting, maybe they see something that I don't yet see. What are your insecurities? Why do you not see it yourself? And then I had to ask myself, the moment I started seeing it, game over. I said, let's go, tap into this and see what's possible. And then slowly but surely, a few victories here and there, confidence went up. And I said, let's see how big we can take this.
So you take me to a really interesting question, which is some people don't really like to go there, but I think you're up for it. Have you underestimated your ability to make an impact? Whether that's money or change, like Mother Teresa made an impact, right? You don't have to be on social media to make an impact. You don't have to make money to make an impact. Have you underestimated or overestimated your ability to be a productive member of society, a success?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to end up broke, right? That means you're not going to be a drag on the system. Your family's not going to be a drag on the system, hopefully.
Yeah, God willing. I mean, the goal is to be a net positive to society, but value to, so you know what it is for me? For me, it is the battle you go through. And the battle is, there's a side of you that's so confident. It's like, dude, I feel like I'm formidable enough to be able to compete in a political space, in a business space, and boom, and boom, and boom, right? And then the other side, on the other side of the pendulum is, who the hell are you? You ain't got a 4-year degree. You're coming from a refugee family. You lived in Germany. You're from Iran. You know, you're
Is
half
this an
Syrian.
inner voice?
Yeah. So these two guys are debating in my head all the time, right? As I'm coming up.
Still today.
No longer today, but today is, at what levels do you think you're capable of going? Okay, so now it's no longer, do you think you can make X, Y, Z money? I think math is on my side. If I want to make a lot of money, I'm going to make a lot of money. Because
you already have made a lot of money.
Yeah, but I'm talking like real money. I'm talking like 10 billion, 50 billion. Like, are you going to make that kind of money? Are you going to really create some real wealth? Is that going to happen? Okay, I don't know. I think so. I think Matt's on my side. I think I got to stay in product development, company growing. I'm an equity type of way of making money. I'm not the guy that's an investor guy, although we are doing that. But for me, it's more from the standpoint of, I like building companies and building value. That's what I see myself being able to do. The next companies I'm building, the goal isn't to build, the holding company to sell the company. I'm running for 40 years. I'm going. I feel like what's going on in the media space, I think the enemy is real. I just finished a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely with Penguin that's coming out December 5th. And the whole concept is, if I want to get the best out of me, I know myself. If I got the real best, good enemies, I feel the people that we read about and go to the highest of levels, whether it's a Michael, a Musk, a Brady, those guys. We just had Brady at an event a couple weeks ago. I think they have 3 things in common. Number one, I think they experienced what unconditional love means from one person. That's all you need it from. You just have to know what it feels like. You need unconditional love from one person. One person that no matter how much shit you and I ever did, that person loved you. That's number
beautiful,
one.
man. I've never heard anyone say that, actually.
Number
it
two.
makes me emotional.
Oh, for
Thank
me
you.
too, bro.
Yeah.
Number 2 is unconditional pain from a person you love. That means no matter what you and I ever did, it was constant pain. We could never win this person over. This could be a father, this could be a mother, this could be a friend, this could be an ex. A lot of pain, because you have to know what that pain feels like, okay? So for Elon, it's his dad.
Yeah.
You can go and look at these different people and see where that pain is coming from, right? And then the last thing, for those that continue and continue and continue, is they choose the right enemy. Whether the enemy chooses them or they choose the enemy, that enemy, the right enemy, tends to bring out a whole different side of them. Now, if somebody has experience... The right enemy. Because a wrong enemy can ruin your life, destroy your life, steal years away from your life. And then you wake up, you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, by the way, we can talk about the wrong enemy politically. We can talk about it for men, for women. We can talk about the wrong enemy could be in a lot of different ways. Women, the enemy is men. That's what the enemy is. And it's like, no, the enemy is not men. How many women joined the feminist movement thinking men were the enemy? 40 years later, they're 65 years old saying, what the hell did I do? Yep. What a wrong enemy I chose. You destroyed your life. So if we combine those 3, the love, the pain, the right enemy, and then the gaps when you don't have an enemy, so the bigger the enemy you choose, that can be a more formidable, that requires you to fight longer, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and some of the enemies that are permanent enemies, because they're not going away, so they can produce a energy and generate a certain level of endurance and stamina in you that you're willing to go for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That's when you all of a sudden see yourself competing with someone that person, they're not smarter than you. That person is not more, capable than you. It's not about capability. It's not about intelligence. It's about they're able to tap into an emotion and a drive and a level of curiosity where they want to meet that unknown, prove to themselves and the enemy that, listen, you thought this, watch what I'm going to do, right? Watch, like even when you watch The Last Dance and everybody was talking about how Michael is psychotic. This guy's got mental issues. What the hell did George Carl tell you? He just walked by and forgot to say bye to you. You want to come to a restaurant while we're playing the playoffs and you don't want to say goodbye to me? You don't want to say take care of me? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to have to kill this guy. You're Isaiah Thomas. You come to the game. The year before, you whoop my ass. I can't come through you. And finally, I take care of my health. We go through the playoffs. We beat you. You don't shake your hands when you go. No problem. I'm going to kill you and you will never play on the dream team because I never forgot how you made me. So someone said, well, Michael's a psychopath. He's off. You may be right. Cool. What's your point? Yeah, but who the hell would want to be Michael? Michael. Yeah, but that's not a healthy life. Oh, yeah, then why do you watch him on TV all the time? Why did he entertain you for 10 years? Why did you watch him whoop on, Utah or whoop on?
He must have been tapping into something.
What did he do to you? Why were you so attracted to it? Oh, so the difference between you and him is you relate to him, you can be him, but you were afraid. Right. He found his enemies. So, to me, so I have a hard time for me to sit on the sidelines and just kind of know that I can tap into that, but be like, no. What if this thing becomes way too big? You got to kind of hone it in, control it, this is that.
So you have all those thoughts? You've had all those thoughts all along. Hey, make it smaller. It's amazing.
Is it worth it? Should you really work that hard?
Who are you?
Hey,
who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Why do I deserve this? Right? All that stuff. So that's the best debate of those two guys going at it. It's the best debate.
What do you think on that point? Maybe it's a leading question, but what do you think the greatest barrier for your success? Like if there is a one universal God, and he boom, this is what you're going to, this is what Patrick should be. What barrier do you think stops you from being the most you could possibly be?
What barrier?
Also, taking care of your family, being not just going making a bunch of, be the most you can be is not a monetary thing, right? It's not just the most you can be.
No.
That's the way I define it anyway.
Okay, so what barrier?
Yeah, barrier challenge. Like, what do you fight against the most? What's holding us back or you back?
Yeah, I mean,
from being president of the United States. Like,
okay,
why not, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, that's laws. If laws change, different story. I would, love to go and give back in my own way to this country, whether that's presidency, whether it's whatever. I have no problem doing it. If I can't do that, I'm going to do it through being a kingmaker, building a media company, and being formidable enough where the voice carries so much weight that we can give our own argument for issues that's going on. That's what we're going to do anyways. But, I will tell you, I was having a conversation with somebody this weekend, and on what kept me together, man, what a way of, being able to control your kids without controlling your kids. You know what scared me the most? As a kid, man, this scared me so much that it got a hold of me. When my mother would say, I may not see what you're going to do, but trust me, God's watching. And she said this 1,000. She put the fear of God. By the way, I was an atheist. So I was fearing a God I didn't believe existed because I was an atheist. I would leave Bible study and I would say, guys, I don't believe in God. If we believe in God, why did he bomb Iran? Why did he let all these innocent people die? God doesn't exist. God is for the weak people. That was me that I would say this, right, when I'm going through this. I was an atheist till I was 24, 25 years old. I was the guy that would go debate everybody at LDS church. I would just debate them. So tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. But no, so for me, the saving grace was the fear of God. That prevented me from doing some of the dumbest things. I did a lot of stupid things, but it prevented me from doing them even bigger. That would have ruined my life. We all can go back to a certain moment in our lives where you're one decision away. If that cop would have seen you, if this, you can't get security's license, you would have been in jail. What are you talking about? So that grace, that level of luck, which is kind of okay to have, I feel like I'm the luckiest man alive. When he first came in, how you doing? I said, I feel like I'm the luckiest man alive. I really do. The barrier is if you allow the noise to get to you. Like early on when I was young, 21 years old, I started doing very well with this one company, and I'm speaking on yachts every Sunday at Newport Beach, and I'm hanging out with this one guy that's a billionaire, McNulty, who's got the biggest house in Newport Beach, $60-70 million home that it just recently sold for, and it traded for, and I'm like, his guy at 21 years old, and all these girls and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm a freaking rock star. I'm going to Vegas. I'm playing at the tables. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And then all of a sudden, boom.
You weren't.
Car's gone. Money's gone. girl's gone, friend, everybody's gone. And then I go to this club in Burbank, California. I don't remember the name of the club, but I go to this Burbank club right off of San Fernando in whatever that cross street is. And I'm in my Ford Focus. Okay, I don't fit in a Ford Focus, but I'm my Ford Focus. And by the way, stick shift, and everything was, what do you call it? The windows, whatever.
I remember, man. And you had an 8-track tape player.
Dude, no, for me, this is 02. So I'm in this 02 Ford Focus, and I pull up, and my friends pull up. They say, so, where's the car, Mr. Millionaire? And I'm just like,
You deserve that one.
Yeah, of course.
You did deserve it, right?
You kidding me? Of course. It's like, so where's this, and where's that, and where's this? I go to the club. I feel like I don't want to dance with I don't want to do nothing. I just sat there by myself. I can't wait to get the hell out of here. And we go to the In-N-Out. We would eat at Burbank and go home. And then I go home. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to re-enlist back in the Army. And I'm going to do that 20 years. I've already done 2.5 years, and I've done, a year or two in, in reserve. So go 16 more years and retire. And then I'm making a call. And I'm like, yeah, maybe give it 6 more months before you go back in. 6 more months. Boom. Things turned around. So what if in that moment I joined back to the Army? These are the moments where you kind of go through it. But when I lost everything, I realized, okay, so the next time people are like, oh my God, you're so great and you're so this and you're one of the best this and you want to, like, don't listen. They're full of shit. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen. You're good. You're okay. Relax. You're not there yet. Don't listen. You're not there yet. Don't listen. You're not there yet. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Don't listen. Because I didn't want it to get to my head. I wanted to keep that hungry, humble guy to constantly recreate myself. And again, the same fear of God that worked for me, I want the fear of losing everything. And the fear of losing everything keeps you in the game to know that tomorrow you could lose it all. If I don't have the fear of God and I don't have the fear of losing everything, it's kind of like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. No, it's kind of like, no, you got to stay engaged. You got to stay engaged. You got to stay engaged. Now, whether that's the right thing or not, whatever, well, that's too much scarcity. That's too much this. Remember, it's a bipolar relationship. On one end, I'm the guy that I feel like I can be anything. On the other end is the world is coming to an end. Okay, so that recipe of these two guys talking to each other and I'm listening to their conversation has allowed me to make better decisions. Because this guy whispers, so you're getting a little too cocky. Okay, this guy whispers, hey, da-da. That's the balance that's worked for me over the years. So barriers, I would say, whether it's listening to the wrong people or listening to too much of the hype and too much of the compliments can sometimes slow you down and buy your own BS hype.
It's interesting you talk about the promoter and then the guy, you can't do it. It's like I've learned to start listening to this guy. Like if my fear, do you have fear?
Yeah.
On a regular basis? Or, I think most people would look at a big guy like you doing what you're doing, like you would never be scared to meet anyone.
No, I'm not.
Or do anything?
No, my fears are purely family fears. I don't have fears like, I don't have fears of losing money. I don't have fears of stuff like that. I need that, but I don't have that. It's purely kids. It's purely legacy. It's purely, more the paranoia side of, indoctrinating, and I have those kinds of fears, paranoia.
Yeah, well, but I think that's what I'm, that is, like, I have a lot of fear. And it's never become really easy for me. Now, maybe that's because every 10 years I go into another industry and nobody knows me, so I'm having to break into the thing. Where I was trying to get to, you talked about enemies. And I think enemies and fear, they kind of, align on the same side of the balance sheet. The other piece is, confidence and friends. And like, do you find it easier to collect enemies or friends? Because I find it fucking difficult to find real high quality friends that are there.
I'm not. I'm very, you put me in a room, I'll leave and I'll know everybody and I'll befriend everybody and have a relationship with everybody and I'll know something about everybody. There'll be something about that guy went to this high school. This guy's born on March 28th. That guy's in October.
But I'm talking about friends that you go to war with.
Very hard, man.
Like,
very hard.
Hey, I need to call this guy because I'm getting ready to have to lock and load. This shit's going down. The guy that doesn't show up to that, federal investigation that's somebody decided, hey, I'm going to stop this guy, and they didn't
Yeah.
say something. I have found finding really monster friends so difficult.
I don't disagree. It's not easy. And the reason why it's not easier to make, it's harder to make the more you move up, right? It's kind of like, you know when you date a girl when you have nothing and she likes you?
And it's hard to move up if you hold on to your old friends.
It's
Isn't that a
true.
paradox,
It's absolutely
dude?
true.
Huh?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. But you know how when you have nothing, you date a girl, okay? And you literally have nothing. Like, hey, you know, you want to go out? Nah, not really. Why not? Dude, let's just watch Netflix, man. Let's order pizza. Why? I only got $20. And she's like, okay, babe, no problem. This chick really likes you.
Right.
Okay. You drive in a beat up car, you pick her up and all this stuff. Okay, cool. You got regular DSW shoes with the $29.99 label on the bottom with the discount. And she's got this ghetto belt that's about to fall apart, and your pants are cheap pants, and regular shirt you're wearing for $9.99 from whatever wood, you know, that you got. But then later on when you got money and you have a Ferrari and you have nice cars and you live in a nice home and you got the clothes and the watches and all this stuff, and you go out, is she really into me? Or is she into what I offer? What's she really into, right? So it's kind of like weird. So now, when you're broke and you have friends and, you know, da-da-da-da-da, and then later on you have, you know, money, and is this guy wanting to be friends because the benefits I offer, or is because he's going to be a ride or die guy when I need somebody? The truth of the matter is, guess what? You're not going to know. You're not going to know. You can go do a lie detective test. You can go do a DNA blood test, this test, talk to the mom, talk to the dad, interview the last 20 exes and friends and all this stuff he's at, and how did he betray you and all this stuff. You're never going to know. So, but there's a risk. There's risk to love, Gary. There's risk to friendship. There's risk to relationship. There's risk to business. I think the alternative is to not take that risk, the controlled risk, not the reckless risk, like letting them in all. Like, for example, you come to my house, dude, ain't nobody going on the second floor. I'm not a second floor guy. You don't go on the second floor. My family lives on the second floor.
Right.
First floor is entertainment, second floor is kids. You just don't go on the second floor. Now, we've known each other and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden, hey, you know, I want to show you something. I say, yeah, of course. That's controlled trust that we're going through. Reckless trust is, yeah, go for it.
Sure.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm overly.
Well, you got kids too.
I got kids. I got, you know, so I'm overly paranoid with some of those things. But I think the alternative to not allow that to happen, like when you look at Michael and Michael Jordan's friendship with Tiger, okay, and there's a whole thing where Tiger feels comfortable around Michael. Well, they built that relationship when Michael was in his 40s.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? So he can do it. We can too. Maybe we have to meet other people that are wired like us. And what would that be? It's a mutual understanding of a person that's given their best in a certain level, and they've gone through the certain experiences, the pain, the backstabbing that maybe you relate to. I think those opportunities are there, but it's not going to be every Friday night.
Nope.
So, yeah, I think it's tough. It's easier to make enemies and recruit enemies. It's tougher to make friends, but to not be willing to take the risk to build new friends is also pretty lonely.
It's lonely.
Yeah.
I know a guy, one of the most talented people I've ever met. He was one of the largest copper traders in the world, made an immense amount of money, 300 million sterling.
Here or UK?
In the UK. I met some unbelievable players in the UK. That was fascinating. I actually wanted to talk about that. I'm not sure we have enough time, just about, you know, how much somebody learns and experiences by leaving their home, whether you left voluntarily or you were forced. You start having challenges outside your normal neighborhood, whether it's a 10-cent comforter or a $10 million comforter. You're still uncomfortable because it's a new environment. That was awesome for me. Getting away from my home, having new challenges. I suspect you're very much like that. Like, not necessarily adapting, but becoming a part of that environment. And I love adding value, because my theory is if I add value to any, especially a monster ecosphere, then I can extract value and nobody cares, right? And it's sustainable. I've never raised third-party money in any of these businesses. Never. It was a mistake, by the way. I should have raised some debt. I'm not saying it was good, but I did it because I didn't want to let anybody down. You know, hey, am I going to miss my window? That was letting them down.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you're going to get at it like 30x, 50x. I just can't tell you if it's next month or three years from now, right? Like, it's going to be somewhere in the next 36 months. I felt bad about, no, I don't want your money, Grant. I don't want your money. You're my friend, man. I do not want to mess with that because it's so valuable. The friendship's so valuable. I find that people like you, especially people that don't have hobbies, you like changing your game. That it's stimulating for me. Like, it's so much fear. Oh, shit. I mean, I went in the credit card industry, didn't know the difference between a credit and a debit, acquiring bank and an issuing bank. But it required me, right? You jump into a big old marketplace with you got Visa and MasterCard. They just want to crush everything. And it's scary, right? But I mean, you've done it in media, right? First time you went and did a podcast, right? You're probably a lot more comfortable doing it today.
No question about it.
Or are you getting too comfortable doing it?
Am I getting too comfortable? It's interesting you asked that question. We were having a conversation last week. We had a talent dinner. And during the talent dinner, like the talent for us, the comedians, the creators that we had a dinner with our talent. And during this dinner, I created a scoring system to measure who are the best talents out there and how well they do. And we scored everybody.
One by one. You love doing surveys, right?
I love doing surveys, yeah. So so here's how the scoring went, okay? We looked at a bunch of personalities, and the first thing we looked at to score them on is content, okay? Do they actually create new content that gets me to say, wow, never thought about it. Good strategy, that's crazy. Interesting, good interview. Who is this guy? So content is something that's constant. It's not the same 42 books you read. Let me tell you what I read in Think and Grow Rich and Laws of Success and Psycho-Cybernetics. No, it's actual new stuff that you're always bringing in, right? So then we put, number one is content. Number two is entertainment. This is why valuetainment. So value, content, entertainment, you're entertaining. I feel if you know how to entertain by telling this, a good way of entertaining people and getting their attention, I think the mind opens up and you can feed more. The more boring you are, your content could be 10. Person's not receiving it because you're just boring, as good as your content is. So we got content, we got entertainment, we got personality. Do you have an attractive personality? Okay. Personality doesn't mean like, oh, hey, what's up? Still, I like this guy.
Yeah.
I like this guy's personality, right? And last but not least, it was storytelling, right? Now, obviously, we can add a bunch of different, levels to it as well. So then we took those 4 names and we started going through grading. So by the time we were done, the highest score, I believe, was Rogan. And I think it was Rogan and Trump that had the highest scores, okay? Because Rogan, content, what do you want to talk about? He'll talk about it. You want to talk politics, you want to talk weed, UFC, you want to talk about that? Okay, he can go. So he got a high score on content.
Yep.
He got a 9 because he's not a basketball guy, he's not a football guy, he can't do the traditional sports, he has no interest in baseball.
One sport.
He likes UFC, that's him. But he can do so many other content that he schools everybody. So then you go to, entertainment. Entertain. Yeah, he can entertain. So then you look at personality. Super likable. Super trusting when you see him. You're like, I just like this guy. I trust this guy. Last but not least, storytelling. One of the best storytellers, right? And then you go to the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy. While we're doing this talent dinner, the conversation about you going back and saying, are you getting comfortable? You feel like now you're at a point that you're so comfortable. When you constantly are assessing yourself in which area of your game is getting sloppy and which area has room for improvement, you're now seeing yourself at what level you can compete at, right? Because to me, the one thing, we talk about and we train every year at the Vault Conference is no matter what level you're at right now, even if you're first place in this level, because life is all about levels, right? There's plenty of levels to the game. In a room filled with millionaires, you and I are rock stars. In a room filled with billionaires, you and I are nobodies. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's levels to the game. So to
there's
me,
62 million millionaires and 406,000 high net worth, which you and I would be classified as. But you're talking about the high net worth on the top 80%. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like, on some lists in America, there's only 900 billionaires.
Yep.
8 to 900 billionaires. Okay. On 330 million people, that's a real league to be a part of, right?
Yep.
Okay. So at each level, you're number one of a level, but you're in the bottom 20% the next level. You may be the best high school player, but in college, so you may be the best. So you may be this, boom, so Hall of Fame. So I always want to see, where do I rank at the next level? Not, we're beating those guys and look at what. I'm not
How do you
interested in
judge that? Let's say I sold a business for 301 million, and you sold a business for 300. Does that make me better?
I can answer that question for you from
Please.
my
Yeah.
POV. Here's my POV.
POV?
Point of view.
Okay.
My point of view on that is the following. So I think there's three types of people, and we can categorize this. I'm going to try to give you a visual that hopefully this answers your question for you.
Love it.
So who in your high school was the person that was supposed to be the most successful?
Bobby Broussard.
Okay, there you
Everybody remembers the name, right?
What's he doing
He was
today?
oh, dude, he's total drunk.
That's
It's so sad.
It
kills me.
It's so sad,
this
right?
guy I looked up to, he was a monster magic
Dude.
man with of basketball. What happened to that kid?
Okay, so now check this out. I asked this question, and I said, who was the kid in school when you were in high school that was supposed to be the most successful? Post their name below. And thousands of people post the name. And I said, are they doing what you thought they were going to do at this age? Are they the most successful? Everyone goes, no, he's not. He's doing it. He's a plumber. He's this. He's that. Okay. So if we take 100
Nothing
people,
wrong with being a plumber.
there's nothing wrong with being a plumber.
Nothing wrong.
However, I will put a category. Take 100 people. Okay. Out of these 100 people, we got 3 buckets to put them in. Okay. Based on capacity, does everybody have the same capacity in life of levels of success they can reach? I believe no. Okay? I believe certain people's capacity is higher than others. Let me break it down for you with sports. Yeah. For example, Deion Sanders and I are in high school. He runs a 4.19 40. I run a 4.6 40. Based on capacity, on speed, and pure human specimen, who has a bigger capacity in life for sports? Deion Sanders does. I don't run a 4.19. LeBron James is 6'8", 260, jumps 38 inches. I'm 6'3", 6'4", 215. I jump 25 inches. Who has a bigger capacity? LeBron James. So if we take 100 people and we put them on their levels of capacity, okay? So you would put a score and say, this guy's a 91. He really got a big capacity. He can really go light it up on what he's got. This guy's got an 82. This guy's got a 63. And this guy's got a 49. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't have a lot of gifts. If the 49 is worth $300 million and the 92 is worth $17 million, this guy's an underachiever. This guy's an overachiever. So to me, it's not about the 301 versus the 300.
It's where you came from.
To me, it's about your capacity. Did you go above and beyond what you were capable of doing? That's where I salute. So if I see somebody where I'm like, dude, that guy went, holy freaking shit, are you kidding me? Damn, respect to that guy. Versus, yeah, makes sense. LeBron, I understand you're great, you've done what you've done, but listen, you kind of, everybody knew since 12 years old you're going to go into high school. Shaq, everybody knew you were going to go into the NBA.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm interested in the capacity. So that is the only way we can measure who went above and beyond and who was just an achiever in life.
Very, very good way of looking at it. I think it levels the judgment. Since you look at the world that way, when you're hiring people, how many people work for Valuetainment today?
80 full-time right now.
80 full-time, so you're building up. When you measure people coming to you, because you're measuring, hey, Gary, you built 5 different companies in 3 industries, your capacity, no MBAs, no Harvard, you're going to give me a higher rating for, multitude of successes in different industries. Like, God, the guy didn't have an MBA, came from Louisiana. He speaks funny, right? He sounds like he's white trash. Versus the guy coming out of Goldman, Wharton. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
The balance. When you measure, but you're able to look at it post facto. Okay, success, right? When you're looking at these 79 people that come to work for you, do you use that barometer? And if so, how do you do that? Because you don't have any successful quotients to measure against, the norm.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And remember, this. On the insurance side, we build it to nearly 50,000 insurance agents nationwide in 49 states. So this is a newer company that we're growing. But it's a good question you're asking.
But even more like the 50,000, you had to do the same thing.
That's a different story. Because
picking an army of soldiers, dude,
you're
hard.
You're totally right. We talked about it today. I can tell you, you can score high in 19 categories, Gary. But if you score low in 2 things, we can't do nothing together. If you're a guy that your attitude is super low, and you're like one of these bitter guys and you're uncoachable, there's nothing I can do for you.
How do I rate?
Oh, I wouldn't know. I haven't worked with you.
Well, but so far, what have you seen?
You're intuitive.
An arrogant, overconfidence?
You're very curious. You're very interested. You have a unbelievable amount of charisma and charm, and you
tell the girls that way.
You have the Robert Downey Jr. type of energy. You guys have that energy. The two of you guys. It's a very unique energy you guys got. That's so tough to explain. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Sagaponack. I was in Sag Harbor, and I walk in with Chris Cuomo. He showed me his house, and we're having lunch together. And he takes me to the airport. He says, "Hey, Pat, somebody wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Who's that?" He says, "A guy named Iron Man. You may know this guy." He goes like this. "Oh shit! What's happening, Robert? How you doing? What's up, PBD?" "Not much, man. What's the word?" We're coming out having this conversation together, and then my sons are running around in Chris's house. I said, "Guys, come here. Somebody wants to talk to you." Dude, I wish I would have recorded their face, because to them, they love Iron Man. So they're like, "Oh my God, it's you." They say, "Hey, what's up, buddy? What's your name?" They're having a conversation. But I told Robert, I said, "Robert, you know what's one of my favorite movies of yours?" He says, "What?" I said, "It's a movie my dad and I watched 20 times. You're at a hotel, you're in love with this girl. It's like in Europe, it's by the water and all this stuff." He says, "What movie?" I said, "Dude, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's a movie." He says, "Oh, I know which one you're talking about." I said, "What's that?" He says, "Only You." I said, "Only You." That was the movie we watched so many times. Robert Downey Jr. to me with Only You and The Judge. I've watched The Judge. One time on a flight, on an 8-hour flight back from Europe, I watched The Judge back to back. I'm telling you, I watched the movie, I finished it. Have you seen The Judge?
I need to go
First of all, brother, you're going to freaking fall in love. It's Duvall is his father.
Wow.
Okay?
I love him.
I love both of them, right? And in the movie, Robert Downey Jr. and his father have a very interesting relationship. And he ends up going and becoming a lawyer. Not only any lawyer, he becomes the lawyer. His dad's the judge of the town he grew up in. And his dad put him in jail, by the way. His dad put his own son in jail because he got in trouble. And then he comes back, his dad's not getting in trouble, and his dad hires him as a lawyer. Dude, It's just a world class of a movie. But anyways, you guys got that kind of a charm. But going back to, we're talking about it today on what to measure. In each industry, it's going to be a different thing.
When you're bringing people in, right? To
your
team.
Well, think about it. You ever seen a movie Moneyball with Billy Bean? Okay.
Yep.
So one of the only speakers I brought 3 times to an event, Billy Bean, the only guy I brought back 3 times to an event. And the reason why I brought him back is because I'm an analytics guy. I'm a predictive analytics data guy. I like numbers. I like trends. I like studying all of that. And when they figured out in baseball that everything was about on-base percentage and it wasn't about the home runs, changes the game, right? This guy's like, no, this guy's good. But that guy hit 28 home runs. No one gives a shit. That guy gets on base 41% of the time. 39, this is the guy we want. That guy gets on base 32% of the time. This is our guy. Like, so what matters the most? The most important data in baseball is on-base percentage. No shit. Changes the game. And then you saw what Tampa Bay did with pitching, 3 pitchers instead of 1, changes the game, right? All these different things that they tested. So in every business, there are certain metrics that matter the most to be good in that job. For example, if I work at Goldman Sachs and I'm an engineer guy and I'm building the software for them, I don't need to have a good personality.
Right.
I don't need to be, but I need to know coding. I need to know all that stuff. But if I'm on the front and I'm meeting with clients who are worth 100, 200 billion, $500 million, but I'm good with relationship, networking, follow-up, sending special gifts where I remember what you said with your daughter turning 7 years old. Here's a $62 gift of how her favorite cartoon character is such and such. And then little touch, right? And then maybe you need to know.
Little touch.
Yeah, little touch. And maybe you know the numbers, and maybe you know the market, and maybe you can see certain trends, and maybe you read the 62 books on investments, and you're constantly in it, and you're a good prospect, and you're a good follow-up. Well, then I need to create that data for that job. But that data for that job, you're going to make a shitty engineer.
Yep.
Because a guy that would be a great money manager is going to be a shitty engineer with those qualities because no one cares about it. So, the same thing as being a coach in basketball. Some of the best coaches in basketball were terrible basketball players. They were bench guys.
Yeah, well, it's like the guy that, are you a gun guy?
I have guns, but you probably know more about guns than I do.
Well, it's like it's the founder user scenario, right? Like I meet founders all the time, and I ask them, hey, what does a founder do? And no one can answer the question. Well, I'm a CEO. Really, what? Well, why? You've never been a soldier, but you're telling me you're a general. And the worst generals on the planet, if you interview a bunch of military guys, the worst general is a guy that's never been a great soldier, like really a great soldier, like mucking it up, blood, dirt, vomiting, carrying freaking stuff too far, understanding the challenges of the foot soldier. He becomes, I think, a better leader. I think the only great leaders on this planet are people who have been great human beings, great soldiers, just grinding it out. The greatest CEOs, like these CEOs that pop up and they've never worked. You work, man. You were hustling the streets all the time. You understand when all these 80 guys, what they should be working at. Because they're Corvettes or they're the first car you had, but it's not optimally running. Like they're putting bad fuel in it. They're not using it correctly, right? Like there's just a lot of misdirection. That's what I look for. Somebody that's got potential. It's not kinetic yet. It's misdirected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like an F-15 fighter. Like I have always felt like I'm a MiG jet, but I don't know how to control the goddamn thing, right? I just don't know how to control all the capacity, to your point on the capacity piece. So what's the other low score? What am I going to do? You go, I cannot work with you.
Oh, if you want me to coach you in my space, you're uncoachable. You got a bad attitude. It's a done deal with me. I can't do nothing for you. Go find somebody else. Yeah, I'm not the guy for you. If you got a bad attitude, it's amazing how contagious a bad attitude is, how ugly a bad attitude is. You can take a guy without any skills and you can teach him skills, but you can't take a guy with a bad attitude and save him there. He's got to go through it himself. Nobody else can do it for him. For the longest time, we're like, well, you know, if you're a great leader and you're a great motivational speaker, and you go, no, I'm not a motivational speaker. My job is to work with the people that have the positive attitude, that are willing to put in the work. I can get the best out of you. But if you got a bad attitude, that's not my problem. It's not my job to help you fix it. It's got to be on you.
Other than bad attitude?
At what level, right? Are we talking about you want to be a what?
Well,
do you want to be a...
We talked about you will measure my capacity versus someone that was given a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
The 301 to 300 number, right? You and I probably had very similar lives, actually. I would say that you've been more successful because you did it earlier, right? Like you have 20 years ahead of me to really leverage this thing. I mean, I made $27 million in 2001. That was a lot of money back then, man, right?
27 million is a lot of money. You're at that point, you got to, especially in
It's a lot of money right now. Yeah. I think 300 million is a lot of money. It's like your children are going to have monster problems, right? 20 years out. You're leaving them with a problem. I think you and I actually had less problems. Like I get scared. Like I have a monster allocation to Bitcoin. And my justification is, well, if I'm wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong. I'm never wrong on these trades. If I'm wrong, my kids, I was with Anthony Scaramucci, and Anthony's got a monster position. I love him, okay? I think he gets way too much grief. And he said, hey, you think I'm right, huh? I said, look, this is the way if I'm wrong, my kids grow up just like you and I did. If I'm right, they have a seriously different problem. It's a really big problem if I'm right, because I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And that's the way I justify it. I'm like, hey, that's a good trade for me, right? They're going to be able to go to school and everything, but I had nothing, man. As soon as I got out, I had to go to work. I was going to not be able to feed myself if I did not find a job, period. And that kept me humble. Humility has been great for me, even though most people would not say I'm humble. Like just getting knocked down a bunch of times and always having to push against decent, you know what I'm talking about? That humility that, let me be careful here. Every time I've gotten a little too cocky, one, I hate that in other people. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like people that make a lot of money and get rude.
Yeah. I had a meeting with one of my guys.
It scares me, actually.
Yeah.
That it could happen to me.
But it can happen to anybody.
Totally.
I had a meeting with one of my guys. I said, when you were broke, everybody would say you're conceited, arrogant, you were cheap, and you always had an entitled attitude. I said, it's weird. You now make very good money within the company, but you're still showing signs of being conceited, being cheap, and being entitled. And I said, I thought you would have lost that over the last 15 years, but it's still with you. and it's not an attractive quality. I hope you're aware of it, because if you're not, it's going to hurt you long term, because people don't want to be around people that have those qualities.
Do you think you've become a better person with success?
I think it's just more, what do you call it, public now. I'm the same. It's more public. You know, my values are my values. My values haven't changed.
They have changed.
Well,
I'm going to challenge that. You told me that you were a bit of a little bitch when you were 22 in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right, a little player.
I won't disagree. I was absolutely, like, those things for sure. But for me, I value
not to interrupt
being.
you. I know a lot of people where money has taken them like deeper into the sin pool, into the, the deviant, like not focused energy, laser. Like when you're in a weapon like you are, the point I was trying to make about the M107 is it's one of the most highly engineered weapons in the world. The guy that built it, like, he knows pressures. However, he does not shoot the weapon. When they test it, they give it to a shooter who knows nothing, which is my point about founder, CEO, and then the deal guy, right? That there's a point when the creator needs to let somebody else help them with the opportunity to test it out. That's why I'm looking at how do you bring in people using your quotient for, hey, I'm going to bring up people that are just the best in the world. I find it to be really challenging.
You know, it's crazy. When I went to a program for 3 weeks, and I was at this place with 144 other CEOs, 64 countries. The guy that's sitting to my right is the CEO of a lingerie company in Australia and New Zealand, okay? Super good-looking guy, 60 years old, kind of like you, just swagger, likable, but a little bit more like super low-key. For whatever reason, that's how he was. So I said, listen, he says, why are you here at this program? It's an OPM program at Harvard called the Owner President Management Program. And so you're going there for 3 weeks and you're just kind of doing case studies every day to figure out how you can take your business to the next level. Anyways, I said, hey, you know what challenge I'm having? What do I do as a CEO? This is 2015. What's my job as a CEO? He says, Pat, I said, how long have you been a CEO? He says, I'm no longer a CEO. I'm the chairman of the board. He says, but I have 6 CEOs, 6 or 7 CEOs that report to me, and I got 6,000 employees because we have these different companies. I said, wow. I said, so how do you coach your CEOs? And he kind of breaks this entire thing down for me. He says, look, there's 2 things. There's things you can do that grows the company linear. There's things you can do that grows a company exponential, okay? If your linear stuff's not in place, if you grow exponentially, it breaks. So don't look at the linear and be like, this is boring stuff. You need this for it to exponentially sustain the growth that you're going to have, right? I said, so what's the linear part? He says 2 things. One is operations, systems, ops, technology. You need that. You need to have the right systems, right ops, right all that stuff. KPIs, great. Yes. He says on the other side is biz dev. Going, shaking hands, going to events, meeting people. Hey, Johnny, good to meet you. We're looking at doing this. Do you know anybody? Yeah, meet Larry. Hey, Larry, how are you? And that was hey, Mary, how are you? And you're constantly shaking hands, networking, doing all that. He says, you got to stay in that mode. If you don't do those 2 things, it doesn't matter if you explode. You don't have the right contact to help you get to the next level. I said, great. What about exponential? He said the top 2 categories on the left side is next innovative campaign. Next innovative campaign is you always got to come up with the next innovative campaign, such as what? Coca-Cola, they plateau a little bit and they, numbers are not what they used to be. All of a sudden, this one marketer out of Australia comes up with this idea talking about share a Coke with. What about we create these cans and we take the top 20 most popular names in Australia and we start selling these Cokes with a name on it to get people that are buying Coke for non-Coke drinkers. You think that's going to do good? I think so. I think it's a shitty idea. Let's test it. They tested it in Australia. Hey, Gary, I was at 7-Eleven today or whatever in Australia. It says share a Coke with Gary. Here you go, for you, buddy. Oh, shit, that's kind of cool. Hey, Patrick, I was at the end. What a freaking idea. So then word gets out. Australia's blown up with Coke. How? This guy came up with this idea called share a Coke. It's blown up. What a freaking idea. Let's try it in this market. Let's try it in that market. And then they do it in every market. And then they started with the top 20 names, then 30 names, then 40 names. And hey, share a Coke with Jose. Share a Coke with Kim. And it's like getting more and more and more wider. It was the biggest campaign that lasted for a couple of years. So that's next innovative campaign. Hey, gas prices are $6.60, Mitsubishi. we will pay your gas prices for 3 years if you buy a car this weekend.
Right.
Oh my God, babe, they're going to pay for our gas price?
Yep.
That's insane. Let's go buy a Mitsubishi. Dude, it's just, it's a rebate. It's like, yeah, of course, that's what it is.
I'd love to do that deal.
But the story, right? The story
sure.
on what it's going. It's like, so he said, always you want to be thinking about the next innovative campaign, right? It's going to be a creative one. And he says, and last but not least, which this is the part that kind of goes back to answering your question, leadership development. He says, in leadership development, it comes down to two different things. He says, one of them, you rely on recruiting. The other one, you don't rely on recruiting. I said, unpack it for me. He said, when it comes down to leadership development, there's all these companies that are fighting at getting the number one student that's coming out of MIT or Harvard or this or Wharton, all this. They want to get that number one. He says, but 200 companies are trying to get that number one guy. Okay, good luck with that number one guy. Okay, he says, if you have such a great leadership development system and culture within the company, you're going to be able to take 5s and turn them into 7s and 8s. You're going to be able to take 6s and turn them into 7s. You're going to be able to take 3s and turn them into 6s. That's great. He says, but if you don't make your company and the opportunity better, you're going to miss out on recruiting 8s and 9s and 10s that are willing to come to your company. So I sat there and I said, what a point. This is 2015. In 2015, you know what still hasn't gone viral? Life of an Entrepreneur 90 Second hasn't happened yet. That means in 2015, I have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, okay? Nobody has a clue who the hell I am. My own mom and dad don't watch my YouTube channel, right? Let alone
they're
everybody.
Probably a little embarrassed, like,
my son man? Thinking he belongs on camera.
Exactly.
This guy,
That's
tell him every time he
like,
looks uncomfortable. So
punk.
Then eventually we come back, and then I said, perfect. And if that's the case, I changed my strategy. Once I changed strategy, a whole different story. Then I read a book by Steven Schwartzman, Whatever It Takes. And in his book, he talks about how they started recruiting only 10s at Blackstone. He said, got to a point that it was all about, we just want to recruit 10s. He said, well, you recruit a 10, you ain't paying him 200 grand. You got to pay this guy $1 million a year. So he said, we're recruiting a 10, but we're paying him all the money in the world so we don't lose him, and we keep him. But 110 is the equivalent of whatever, 5 9s, however he broke it down, or 10 8s. So he
went through that, did he?
Oh, dude, that book, he breaks it, whatever it
What's
takes.
the name of the book?
Whatever it takes.
Okay.
It's with Steven Schwartzman. It's a blue book.
Wow.
And the guy's like a $30, $40 billion guy. He's a stud of a guy. And so to me now, the phase we're in, now I want the 10s to come knocking on our doors. The reason why I'm building and I'm doing what I'm doing is because I want those 10s to come to us. So now Valuetainment has become a culture in universities, in schools, in capitalism, in the business world. So these people who have been following the content for the last 5, 10 years are not coming saying, hey, I want to be able to run Monect. I want to be able to come work on the product development side. I want to be part of the consulting side. I want to be able to come through here. That's what we're experiencing now. We just had a guy come for an interview. He's a CFO of a company you're very familiar with. He's in the interview. I'm like, why are you here?
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, and I'm asking him, and what was your comp last year? 2.1 million. Your comp was 2.1 million. Well, what are you doing here? I can't pay you 2.1 million. He says, well,
you won't.
No, of course, but he doesn't want it.
It makes no sense, right?
He says, but I'm not here for the 2.1 million. I'm here because I know I'm interested in the equity, because I know what you're going to do next 10 years. And he's been with that company for 10 years as their CFO. So then you're like, okay, let's see how committed this guy is.
That's what I was talking. The equity in his company has no rocket power.
No.
It is literally the rocket goes up, the X. What's the first thing it does that it hits space? It jettisons everything. No corporations ever do this. I do not understand this. What got you into that low gravity environment is not what you got to let go of some of this baggage, right? Like, especially the thought, the culture of the thought. Like, this is an opportunity. I wish I was your age.
Yeah.
I would build $100 billion worth of network. This is wide open now. I've had to push. Now it's like, whoa, we need a bunch of 10s, right? And it's not this universe anymore that's so finite. I don't think it's a competitive landscape anymore. I think this is literally how much of the 8 billion people do we want to take a bite of? It's there is no such thing as finite. There's no competition, none. You're building a media company. Mm-hmm. You must think there's a bunch of legs to it, right? Because I'm actually, for the first time, looking at the dynamics of the market, which I'm pretty good at. And I see that media, in fact, I would predict that in 2 years, Fox, CNN's, like all mainstream media, is much, 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 much smaller, if even existence. I also think education by 2030, the way we know it today, will not be here. There will not be kids in prisons learning nothing. Because blockchain, because AI, because I'm going to be able to hire a robot. Dude, I'm going to be able to hire a robot to be a Picasso teacher, right? Like imagine you could plug your staff into a robot for 150 grand and go, okay, this is all the motivational program. This is all the pitches from salespeople. This is, like, you could hone in on education instead of spreading it wide. It's going to be awesome. Everyone's so scared of it. I'm like, bring it, man. Neuralink me, right? Like, I want more. I want more capacity. It comes back to your capacity point, right? I mean, I just want more. I mean, I do think I have a limit of how much can travel through the brain. I feel like I have more. Don't know how I got it, but I have more that I can process. But really, the market is so large, I need guys like you that we collaborate. Like, when there's no fear. They're like, oh, Gary's calling? There must be a deal here. Because I could see building a media company, man. I got on Twitter 6 months ago. Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. Didn't like social media because I'm dealing with such big companies. The kind of stuff I'm talking about, like Visa doesn't like hear it, right? They're like, hey, don't talk about our fraud problem. Don't talk about how good Bitcoin is and what problem it solves. So the media thing, like, tell everybody what you're really trying to do with media and how big you think this opportunity is. Because I think media is being disintermediated due to the decentralization of us being able to do this. This is news now. Right?
Yeah. You know, so media, for the longest time, we have thought the people that we watched on TV are the best people at the job. And that's simply not the truth.
Simply not the truth.
It's just not. Those are the guys that know how to read teleprompters, and they're better looking than you, and they're better readers than you. Maybe that's what they are. But most of them, if they take that teleprompter off, they cannot have the conversation with them. They're simply reading.
None of their own content.
They're simply reading. So watch how many of these guys that went from TV to podcast with no teleprompter, no interview prep with all this. Look how many of them are doing well. Tucker, pro, crushing it. He's going to be okay. He's doing fine, right? But it isn't for everybody, okay? In the next couple of years, when these guys realize...
Do you think many of the old media guys can do this? Or they fail, right? They
no
fail.
way.
Plus, they're not going to move from their $20 million
But here's what's about to happen. Many of these $20 million offers are going to go away because the companies are no longer making that kind of money. Look at what ESPN just did. The amount of people ESPN just laid off is absolutely insane. I'm getting the calls from guys at ESPN. All their WME, CAA managers are calling saying, any interest in this guy? Of course. I'm having meetings with them right here at the Cigar Lounge all the time. So the market's changing, and I'm having you know what I'm asking these guys? I'm like, do you really know what it takes to take a podcast? It's different than a TV show. You know what? It's very hard. This is work. Can you do that? What topics can you talk on? So how many different topics can you expand on? So tell me, give me how many issues you can go 7 layers deep on, not 3 layers deep. Right. You ask me about guns, dude, I'm not going more than 1 or 2 layers deep with you on guns, right? You talk to another guy, he can go 7, 8, 9 layers deep. So you put the guys across and you're like, dude, this guy's only 3 topics he can go deep on. This guy's 1-dimensional. This guy's at best 2-dimensional. Damn, look at this guy. He's 8-dimensional. This guy can pop, right? You're kind of looking at these guys. So I think media is going to go through disruption, and that'll happen. I think these...
And offers you an opportunity?
Who? These guys?
You. By mainstream media being grossly disrupted, are you going to be one of the disruptors?
Of course. Absolutely.
Do you like that?
Oh, more than you would know.
Does it kind of like... It's more important even than the money. Disrupt the guy that's been making $20 million when he doesn't even have anything?
It's not even disrupting it. I feel like it's arrogant. I feel like you got comfortable. I feel like, the last guy that really did this right, I would put 3 names. Krikorian, the Gambler was a book he wrote. The guy with MGM, Armenian guy, died at 98, 99 years old. At his peak, he was worth $10 billion. I think Ted Turner was a G. What he did was phenomenal until Time Warner's deal totally screwed him over. And CNN's never been the same since he no longer ran it. He's in a bad state right now. I don't know if he passed away or not. He's just not in a good condition right now. And then Murdoch did a pretty good job building what he built on all the companies he bought. When you look at their documentaries or read their books, you'll see a bunch of things. But this is not an easy game. This is not a 5-10 year game. This is a 20-30 year game to compete in media space. That automatically eliminates 90% of people that want to get in this game, because 90% of them just want to have a build to sell deal. Build something, sell it for 50 million, 100 million, go walk away. You're not part of the game. There is going to be 2 or 3 guys that will be rolling for the next 30 years. Those guys, it's going to take us 10 or 15 years to identify who those people are. The way you create it today, there's many different ways. We're going to turn Fort Lauderdale into the Burbank of East Coast. That's what we're going to be doing. You're going to see movies, docs, shows, campus, all of that right here. Fort Lauderdale will be the Burbank of East Coast. For the longest time, people forget that before there was Burbank in Hollywood, everybody made movies in Jersey. And it was all under a guy named Thomas Edison.
That's exactly
And then
right.
he started controlling everybody, and people got so sick of it. And then they
Kind of
eventually...
like what's happening now.
Kind of like what's going on right now, and they moved to Hollywood.
That's it.
They're all now moving. They're leaving now. They're not happy with where they're at, and a similar thing's going to be taking place. But for us, our messaging, like what we have, that's different than many of our competitors and peers. Our audience started off with entrepreneurship. Like originally when we started content, the one word we were pursuing the entire time was only solving for one word.
Right.
I wanted you to go online on YouTube and type in the word entrepreneur, and we pop up. And for a 3-year span, if you type the word entrepreneur, we were 30% of all the videos on page 1. So 25 videos come up, we were 30% of them. So 7-8 videos was us. And that was intentional. And then from there, we went niche, super deep. Then people didn't know all my other interests. And then gradually I introduced, wow, this guy's interested in the mob. Very interesting interviews he does with the mob. Wow, this guy's interested in bodybuilding. What does he know about bodybuilding? That was kind of interesting. Oh, this guy knows about politics, and he come, well, what was this all about? Hey, Iran. Hey, China. Hey, this. Wow. Okay. So then you gradually intro, and the show that we have, the show, the PBD podcast, becomes a farm. It becomes a farm program, and we just launched a new one here right now with Unusual Suspect. It becomes a farm program. You bring people in, you lift them up, go put your own show. You bring them in, you lift them up, go do your own show. You bring them in, you lift them up, you go do your own show. You bring them in, you lift them up, you go.
So that a franchise type model?
No, it'll be
centralized.
Centralized. I have no desire for franchise.
I don't like it either.
Now, the part that we
you lose control of too much, and you can't make decisions quickly.
You know what part of our holding company is growing the fastest right now? Our consulting firm. I couldn't even tell you how we're growing right now. We had a record-breaking month in September, over 200%. Type of record-breaking month. We're putting
corporates, individuals.
No, corporates and individuals. It's not just one or the other. Corporates, like, just last week, one guy comes and sits down. He has a $100 million EBITDA, market cap 1.3 billion, wants to sell. The investment bankers he's dealing with, they're telling him, money right now is too expensive to get the 1.3 billion. Maybe you can get 700-800 million. And we've been through this before. We know how we can help them out. We know the guys in the marketplace. We deal with all the big money guys. And we can, sit there and see as a board or as a way to help you take the business to the next level, whether it's going to be the proper way to repackage it and go do this and that. We know how to do that, whether it's comp structure, whether it's hiring, whether it's, strategy session with your executive team, whether it's a challenge you're having with your business partners. We have products now on the consulting side. So David Consulting will be a very, very formidable multi-billion-dollar consulting firm. And that's not a company we have any desire of selling.
Yeah, well. And so do you use that as lead generation to your other activities?
So from there, it leads to product development division.
Right.
Not another thing to sell. It's product development. So we have a division where we build products internally that we market and we sell. This will be the build to sell model or build to keep model on the products we develop. We like that part of the business. It's not a guy comes into me and says,
a much better multiple than
yeah,
consulting.
hey,
That's
Pat,
the problem with consulting.
I'll give you a $500,000 sponsorship. We'd love you to do. Okay, what am I going to do with $500,000? Okay, cool, we'll take it because whatever. But my interest is more, can we build a product that can turn into a $500 million valuation? That's what my interest is. That's the product development side because we're getting the eyeballs. Last month total, if you take all our socials combined, we got around 500 million eyeballs last month, 500 million views last month. I'm not talking reach, I'm talking 500 million views last month. Okay, that allows us You know,
Is that good, by the way, for someone that's been doing it that long? Because I don't know what
compared to Mr. Beast, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He is, he is in a league of his own.
Has he been doing it for 15 years?
He's a rock star. I mean,
Has he been doing it for 15 years?
He's been doing it since he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
He's probably been doing it for 17 years or something like that. He's been doing it for a while. But
I think that's an example of how wide open this market is.
Absolutely.
This thing is, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest problems, I don't think big enough. I've made a shitload of money, dude. I played with the biggest commodity traders in the world, and I just don't think I wish I'd have had somebody going, no, dude, it's much bigger. You can do much, much more. I look at our politicians, I'm like, what are y'all doing? The guys that are only worth $100 million, but they've been doing insider trading for 30 years, they should be worth billions. And all these politics, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, two last questions. And then I would love to come back, and if you're ever in St. Pete, love to do this again. I'd like to have dinner, actually, talk about some private equity deals in the market, where I see the market going, and have your views. What advice do you have to a guy like me, in fact, that's 65, and this whole marketplace is opening up? The entire globe is opening up. You've met me here for now 2 hours, maybe read a couple of things about me. What advice would you have of me? And then I'm going to ask you the same question about a 22-year-old.
Have you read Blue Ocean Strategy?
Yes.
Okay. So, I would be at the age 65 years old, probably shit that was interesting to me at 45 is not at 65. Not as much, not all of it. And some of it may be, but at 65, I have the luxury to do whatever the hell I want to do. That's where you are right now. You have the money, you have the luxury to do whatever you want to do. However, I sat with one of the guys that we were consulting with last week. He came to me and he said, insurance guy, and he's got a good sized business. Not big, but he's got a good sized business, 5 to 10 million a year top line. He's got like a $2-3 million EBITDA, so nice net, but nothing wild. He says, I want to figure out what I got to do next, and da-da-da-da-da. It's okay. He keeps talking. 2 hours, he keeps talking. For the first 30 minutes, he keeps talking. I said, can I pause you? He said, yes. I said, dude, what are you solving for? It's really 3 things that we're all solving for. A dollar amount that you want to make a run for. Number 2, a run rate you want to go for. Like, I'm going to go on a 10-year run. Or an age you're going for. So he says, what does that mean? How old are you right now? He says, 50. It's okay. What are you solving because you want to retire in 5 years? Or are you solving because you want to have a $100 million exit? Or are you solving because, you want to do what? What do you want to do? He says, you know what? I'm solving for 60 years old and $100 million. I said, there you go. Now we have a target. Yeah, exactly. So you want to go.
You know where to point the gun.
No problem. You got $100 million by success. That's very doable.
Sure.
Now let's figure out how to do it. So how do you differentiate yourself in the marketplace than others? What do you want to do? You want to do this? You want to do that? You want to do this? Where's your strength? And let's try to double down on your strength instead of things that everybody else is already better than you at. I don't want to compete in that area. And then we figured that part out. So going back to you, I would sit there and ask you, are you solving for age? Are you solving for a run you want to go on 10, 20 years? Are you solving for a dollar amount you want to go on? Great. Once you know that, then
the answer is none of those.
Okay.
Those are the 3 questions. It has to be those 3?
Then if it's no, not at all. Then, like for me, it's not money. I'm not solving for money. I'm running 40 years is what I'm running for. I'm 44 right now. I want to go 40 more years. So I'd like God to keep me healthy till 84. I want to go on this 40-year run is what I want to do. Number 2, I have a real enemy that I see what's going on. And I feel that for whatever reason, I have a certain piece of mind and urgency and confidence and fire that I can be one of the guys that can fight for the man upstairs the next 40 years. I'm very confident in that area. I don't know why, but I have that feeling that I think we can roll.
It's that feeling.
I got that feeling, right? So for me, it's that. And then the other part is I'm a selfish guy. I'm a greedy guy. In what area? In this area. I want my kids with me, close to me, for as long as possible. So I want to build this thing in a way where they can have a place in the company. If you want to go be the real estate developer, we got a division for you. If you want to go make movies, we got a place for you. We're going to go be talent, go for it. You want to go do this, go for it. You want to go expand in this market, go for it. but I want them close running with me. I want these guys close to me. That's, I watched the movie Meet Joe Black. I don't know if you've seen the movie Meet Joe Black with, have you seen Meet Joe Black with Brad Pitt? You got to watch this movie.
Yeah. Meet Joe Black?
Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black. Okay.
You ready to see who's in it?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Sure.
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, God.
Anthony Hopkins in the movie is 65 years old.
I've had breakfast with him.
Anthony Hopkins
awesome, dude.
kills it in the movie.
Awesome guy.
Brad Pitt in the movie is death. Death comes knocking on his door. Anthony Hopkins is a 65-year-old billionaire getting ready for his oldest daughter to put a party together for him with senators, billionaires, and presidents showing up at this house that's 40, 50,000 square feet. Dude, first of all, Brad Pitt kills it in this coffee shop scene. When you see that's going to be your favorite scene. And then the conversations that they have
You know
together.
that about people, right? You can go,
You're
this
gonna
guy's
love
going
it.
to dig
Oh,
it.
dude, you're gonna love
good,
that.
You're good about people.
But when I watch that movie, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of resonated with me with certain things I want to do in my life that I haven't done yet. Certain experience I want to have in my life with my kids that I haven't done yet. And then some other private goals that we have in life that we'd like to accomplish. So with you, if it isn't the dollar, if it isn't the timeline, if it isn't the run rate, then you got to tap into additional things. If you really want to go on a big run and you're not like at a phase where you're casual, then you got to go to a different book called The Leaderless Revolution, where he talks about people are driven by 3 different things. 1, something that bothers them. 2, something they love. And 3, something they hate. He says the biggest revolutions are built by people that have one of those 3 things. So which of those 3 is you? Bother, love, hate.
All
what
of
is
them.
it? Ask those questions.
All of them. I
Well, then
I can triangulate on all of them.
then
That's
find a way
superpower.
to use that energy into an industry or a platform or a company to build.
What do you tell my daughter? Good kid. She's 22 years old. I'm dead, man. And we become friends, and you're like, and I'm, hey, look. See, I actually believe that my children would be better working for you than they would be for me.
I agree.
At least initially.
I agree.
If I'm around, you send your kids to me, like I'll mentor. I will at least interview any 18-year-old to 22-year-old. And they do not have to have a resume or a college education. Because I don't think you need to know anything about the past to go to the future. Not now.
So
My daughter, 22-year-old, shows up.
Your daughter, 22 years old. And is daddy's money going to her or no?
Doesn't matter.
Well, that would matter to me.
Would it?
Of course it would.
She needs to behave exactly the same way, I think.
No. That's so.
Okay, okay. She doesn't have anything.
Well.
Bitcoin went to 0.
Okay.
Okay, there's 2 scenarios then, 2 answers. She doesn't have much. She's got enough to pay for the college or whatever, or she's worth $3 billion. Nothing or $3 billion. That is going to be the math.
It's going to be very different.
Dude, it's horrible.
Well, let's do the 0. Do the 0. The 0 part is,
It's easier.
yeah, great. Finding out, again, going back to the same thing. It's a process of interviewing to see what this person's strengths are and what matters to them, what moves them, what drives them, what motivates them, and how I can see the fire that maybe her daddy has to say, okay, you got that fire as well. Great. How can we position you to get the most, from what you're capable of doing? But I'm interviewing your daughter is what I'm doing. If you're asking me like what she should do,
Well, but you told me, see, what you're telling me, the 22-year-old, you're going to ask her. I love that.
I'm going to interview her.
You're going to interview
Yeah.
her, which tells me that you do a lot of interviewing of yourself. This is where I was trying to get to. Like,
for me, it's all about that, Gary. For me, it's all about that because, like, I'm interested in what you're interested in because what I'm interested in is irrelevant to what you're interested in. It's your world. It's not my world. If I'm talking to you, I'm in your world. What world are you in? What do we want to do with your world? What do you want to do? How big you want to go? What? Why? I want to find out when you're born. I want to find out if you're closer to mom or dad. I want to find out who you were in high school. I want to find out, toughest time in your life, especially when you're a younger 22-year-old impressionable young lady that's going through what she's going through. If she's worth $3 billion, it's all about the super team to put together around you. Lawyers who hold lawyers accountable. Like today, we had a meeting about how to structure certain equity things with certain companies. I'm like, great. Guess what we're doing? This is a massive decision.
Totally.
We're doing an emergency Zoom with all my lawyers on, and when I do calls like this, all of them debate each other. Like they're like, no, I disagree. They're not teams. They're not friends. So they're not buddy-buddy. They actually are in ways competing.
Right.
And no, I disagree. I don't think we should do it this way. This is better to do it this way. And so you realize which lawyer and which accountant is really suggesting the best things. But I would advise her, if her daddy's $3 billion went to her, guess what? We got to go find you a team that you trust. Is what we got to find.
Brilliant. Patrick, thank you so much for your
Really
time,
enjoyed it, man. This was great.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I really did enjoy it.
You were going to enjoy it.
I really did enjoy it. This was fantastic.
Well, I'd love to do it again.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Ciao.